We're on Ayin Vavam and Aleph, 5 lines in the top. So we just addressed a whole kasha. We had asked our first kasha from we had already said that we make a Gzeir Shava of Zima, and we compare, I don't know how to describe it, the two sides of the ledger, right? You have the side of the man who's being born someone. So we said all the different isurim that get sreifa in the Mishnah, and it included his descendants, and meaning it says actually specifically his granddaughter and his granddaughter from his son, his granddaughter from his daughter. It says his mother and her ascendants, her forebears, and it says the same thing for his wife. It says his wife's children, his wife's daughter, and his wife's granddaughters, as well as his wife's mother and his wife's mother's mother. So the actual case where the Torah says the din of Sreif is by his wife's mother. It says by his wife's by his chamois. That's what the Torah says Sreif. Doesn't say it outright, but we dash, and that's what it means. And then we learn out with the Gzeir Shava that the Sreif applies to all the other cases. So the Gemara is asking, now that we've made a Gzeir Shava between the husband side and the wife's side, we say that what applies to her parents and to her children also apply to his parents and his children. Let's make the following Gzeir Shava. Imahu kalosay asura, let's say just like the person who's born someone, he's going to be usher to his daughter-in-law, his son's wife. Afi kalas asura, let's say he should also be usher to his wife's son's wife. So his wife's daughter-in-law, if we're making a Gzeir Shava between him and his wife, we're saying whatever is usher by him is usher by his wife, whatever is usher by his wife is also usher by him. Let's say his wife's daughter-in-law should also be usher to him, just like his own daughter is usher to him. Amar Abaye says no. Amar Kra, Yeshes Bincha. It says, Eras kalos chalois kala Yeshes Bincha. When we see the isser of a kala by him, it says a restriction, a miyat. It's only Yeshes Bincha. Bishum Yeshes Bincha atamachayiv v'yatamachayiv. Bishum Yeshes Bina. He only chayiv for his own daughter-in-law, but not the daughter-in-law of his wife. Rava Amar, so that's Abaye's teretz. So Rava says a different teretz. Whether we say like the Mandam, it says when we learn something out, we bring the context from where it's learned out and we apply it in the place that you're learning it to. And what we're talking about over here is if we were to learn out Kalasai, the daughter-in-law of his wife from his own daughter-in-law, we would say that the daughter-in-law over there would get the same einish that the daughter-in-law that his own daughter-in-law gets, just like his own daughter-in-law, like we're going to see, gets skila. The daughter-in-law of his wife, if we were to make this limud, would also be skila. Or if you hold like the other mandam who says no, don binovuki ba'asra, that you don't bring along the context. You say there's just an isser of the daughter-in-law of his wife, but it doesn't bring along the same level of einish that it would have had by him. And it's just going to be compared to the other isurim that apply to the wife. So then we would say, it's still not, you're going to have a caution either way. Le'asha. That would say we learn and we bring along the context. So if we were to learn out, like we're suggesting, like the Gemara is asking, let's learn out the daughter-in-law of the wife from his own daughter-in-law, and we would say just like his daughter-in-law gets skila, the daughter-in-law of his wife would also get skila. Mahu kalase asura afhinami kalase asura mino, and we'd say also they get the same din. Mahu beskila afhinami beskila. Lamanda maskila chamura. So there's going to be problems with it in either way. So if you hold skila is more chamur than sreifa, ikilamalahu shechein imam beskila, I could say you can't learn out kalasai, her kala, from his kala, because by him, his own mother gets skila. But if he's born his own mother, the din is he gets skila. Mashenkin, if he's born the mother of his wife, she gets reifa. So how could you learn out from something that is more kal, that by his wife the mother gets skila, and he gets by he himself, his own mother, it gets skila. You're learning out from something that's more chum to something that's less chum. The Gemara also says, we're saying that we're going according to Manama that skila is mochamer. How could it be that his own daughter, we're going to say, I'm sorry, her own daughter, if the man is born, his wife's daughter, the din is he gets sreifa and kalasai, but if he's born the daughter-in-law, it gets skila. How could the daughter-in-law be a more chamaduk din than the daughter? We're saying the daughter of his wife, the din is sreifa. The kalasa is beskila. How can, and we're saying skila is chamura? How could you have a daughter-in-law have a more chamaduk din than a daughter? So tomorrow, that's not a kasha. I'll prove it from him himself. The bita b'sreifa, but kalasa b'skila. That's the case by the man himself. Like his own daughter, the din is sreifa, and the wife of his son is b'skila, and we're saying skila is chamura. So vice this, that's not a problem. The fact that you'll have a discrepancy that will turn out that the daughter-in-law gets a muhammad. It's two separate dinim. You can't ask a kasha from it. And lamahu lechalakta by so what? But I'll have a different question. Mahu lechalakta by bein imay lekalasai. We would say you shouldn't be able to learn out kalasai that she should get skila, just like the daughter-in-law of his wife should get skila, just like his own daughter-in-law. Because we'll say mahu lechalakta by bein imay lekalasai, just like by him, his mother and his daughter-in-law both get the same din. They both have the din of skila. So too by her, meaning by the wife, there should not be a distinction between her mother and the kalasa. But that wouldn't be the case, because the mother gets sreifa, and the daughter-in-law we were saying it should get skila. Lamanda Amos, that's the kasha if you hold skilas chamur. Lamanda Amos sreiva chamura mehai kushalo nidayin. And even if you'll hold sreiva chamura, which would take out the first question, but this second question would still remain in place. So you still, whether you hold skila chamura, we have several questions. Even if you hold sreiva chamura, which gets rid of the first question, you still have the question that it's coming out that there's a difference between the punishment for ima and kalasa, and it's not, which is different than the way it is by him. So and according to the other mandam, who says that we're not going to give the din skill if we were to learn out kalasa, the kala of the wife from the kala of the man, and would say that she's also going to be chayiv, but we would say just say she's chayiv, that there's a chayiv, but we wouldn't learn out the einish from it. So we would just say mahu kalasa asura afi kalasa asura. We'd learn out that it's asur, v'uki ba'asur hasam with the beskila avalacha b'sreifa. But this din of kalasa by the wife would not be beskila, wouldn't be learned out from the place that it's learned out. It would be put in its new context, and we get sreifa. Ashkam be'ima, just like the mother of the wife gets sreifa, so to the kalasa would get sreifa. So according to Mandam who says skila chamura, we can have a question. I could say, how could you learn out the kalasa of the wife and the kalasa of the man? The wife, her mother, if he was born, her mother gets skila. But if he goes on its own, if he's born his own mother, he gets skila. If he's born on the mother of his wife, it's reifa. So, and skila is more chamer. So how could you learn out something that's kal from something that's chamer? It's coming out that by him, his own daughter, he gets sreifa, and to his daughter-in-law, he gets skila. So so there's a chilik between the einish. Let's say the same distinction by her, and it's coming out. There's no distinction because the Kuka is saying it's domino ba'asra, so it should get the kalasa will also get streifa just like bita. And this question is still going to be a kasha whether you say streifa is chamura or not. It's not a question that's dependent on chumrah. It's a question that's saying they're not having the same thing. Okay, so that is the end of the kasha. I know you learned this. You learned this by Rabbi Max. Eli used to sing "Damina Hoki, Damina Mina." Zaktumar. Bita Manusasa Minain. A new question. But we're up to a new topic, which we haven't addressed yet. The pasuk says, just starting a new topic. We're asking that we covered. There basically are the four corners that we have to that is Isser that is addressed that we're talking about in this parak. There's a man's being bar on his descendants and his forebears, meaning on his children, his daughter, and his daughter's daughter, grandchildren, and his man being bar on his mother and his mother's mother, his father's mother, the people who came before him. And you move over and you have the same thing by his wife. He's also going to be usher to be born his wife's descendants, his wife's daughter, as well as his wife's mother and his mother. Mara asks, so of Sreifa is said by his wife's mother. But all the Einish is learned out on everything else from there. Now we're talking about his own descendants. The man's not his wife's children, but his own children. It means he could have children that are not from his wife. It's his own daughter. So the Torah says about that is the pasuk. Pasuk of that. Ervas bas bincha oy bas bitcha loy segala. Torah says it's also for a man to be bar on the daughter of his daughter or the daughter of his son. The Torah never mentions directly an Issa to be bar on his own daughter, which seems like a very large missing piece. So how do we know a man is also to be bar on his own daughter? Where do we know if he has a daughter, it's not from his wife? Because we have a pasuk that says very clearly, if he has a daughter from his wife, or even if it's not his own daughter, his wife has her own daughter, the Torah says it's also. But where do we know if he has a daughter that's not his wife's daughter? How do we know that it's also? Amar Abaye kal v'chaymer. It's a kal v'chaymer. Albas bitay anish al bitay lekol shekain. If he's also to his granddaughter for the daughter of his daughter, certainly he should be also for his own daughter. We've come across this several times that we say there's no such thing. You don't learn out an einish. We can't punish someone based on a kal v'chaymer. It's not a logical thing. You can't depend on logic to tell you something is awesome. So Gemara, no, this is not a kal v'chaymer. This is such a strong kal v'chaymer. It passes over the line of kal v'chaymer and it goes to a gilui milsa ba'almahu. This is just the Torah is revealing that when the Torah says that your granddaughter, your daughter's daughter, and your son's daughter are also included in that is that your daughter is also. It's not feasible that you should be also to your daughter's daughter and not to your own daughter. Rava says a different teretz. No, he says it. No, it remains a problem. We'd not be able to learn that from there. Amali Rav Yitzchak bar Avdimi asya hena asya zima zina. We learn it out from the wife's daughter. That means, like we said on the previous block, we have the Gzeir Shava of Zima Zima, and not everything says hey Zima. One says Zima. It says sometimes one pasuk only says hey and it doesn't say Zima. So we learn out from the Hena brings together the Zima to Zima, and then Zima. It brings us together all of the different limudim. It says Erbas Vasbinchai Bas Bitcholis Gale Vasa Ki Avascha Heina. So it doesn't say Zima there, but it does say Heina. And it says by the pasuk of the daughter of his wife, as Basar as Basi Tulesikal Gale Vasa Sha Seira Heina Zima. He has both Heina and Zima. And it says Zima by the mother-in-law, whereas it says the Einish of Sreif.
Can you ask that, please?
This is the Gzer Shav. It's not a Kalachayim. And it's only. I think we were arguing about this yesterday. Yeah, you had the same problem. No, it's only something that comes from logic, not something that comes from belief. So that's the way he learns it out. Tani Abu Derabavan. Lefisha Lamanu Labitim Manusasa Yihutzah Hakasa Leimer. Since we didn't learn out Labitim Manusasa, so Leimer Bas Ish Kayin. He says a different source, a third source. Since we don't, the pasuk doesn't directly address Bita Masas. Ubas Ish Kayin. He says you learn that from a pasuk in a totally different area. We learned in the last parak that a Bas Kayin gets Sreifa. Now if someone's born a Bas Kayin, but it was talking about a Naira Mayrasa, it has to be a Psula, it has to be, whatever, that's the din of Bas Ish Kayin. But it says an extra word there. It should say Bas Kayin Kiseichel Liznes. Instead it says Ubas Ish Kayin Kiseichel. So it says an extra word. And it says Savia Hi Mechalelas Eish Tesar. So when it says Savia Hi Mechalelas, we darshan. Now what it really means is that shot in the pasuk is that she's being mevazeh her father. She's doing a terrible thing to her father. He brought her up, and he's a holy person. He's a kayin, and she goes in his mezana. But we dash it to mean as he mechalelas when her father is born her, not a bas kayin. It's talking about a din of someone who's born his own daughter, and this is going to be the source that a man who's born his daughter is us. Ima bas koyin he b'sreifa ve'im boila b'sreifa af bita manusasa he b'sreifa ve'im boila. Correct the Gemara. If this is the case, if you're learning it out from that pasuk by bas koyin, so you should have the same din as there. By a bas koyin, the din is if a man is born a bas koyin, she gets sreifa, but the man who's born her, he doesn't get sreifa. He's not a bas koyin. He's just a regular yid who is born a bas koyin. So he gets the regular din of chanek for being born on a. We're talking about over there, she's a mureses, she's married, so he gets the regular din of being born a eshesis. So we say, let's say the same din here. He b'sreifa, be'im bala b'sreifa. The father who was born her should also have that same din, that he doesn't get the same einish as her. So the pasuk says he, as baska, it's avia he mechalalas. So she's the one who gets the einish and not him, and that's not the case. When a man is Baal Bita, he's the one who gets Reifa. He gets Reifa just like her. Amar Abaya, Amar Kroa, Saviyah Mechalas, Misha Mechalas Saviyah, Yatzazu Shaviyah Mechalala. He says, no, we dash it from the word he the other way around. It's Saviyah Mechalalas, only someone who's Mechalal her father by being born someone else. But over here, her father was Mechalal her. He's the one who was born her. We're saying that with the learning out for the din of Bas Kayin, to the din of a man who's born his daughter. In the case of a man who's born his daughter, he's the one who's causing the chilul. So the exclusion over there that says that the man is not going to get the same einish as the bas kayin will not apply when we apply this isser to. We'll say that this is also teaching us the din of a man who's born his daughter. So Zaktuba, Rava.
She doesn't get sreifa.
We're saying no. She would get sreifa as well as him, according to this last pshat of Rava said with Shem Rav Yitzchak bar Avdimi. We would learn out that not just she is going to get sreifa, but the father is. Is that who it was? Yeah, you're right. That was Tani Avu Rav Avin. Right, Rav Avin pshat. It would be not. That was we're asking a kasha. If you learn out from Bas Kayin, it should have the same din as Bas Kayin. Bas Kayin is a chiluk, the difference. That the Bas Kayin gets reifa and the man who is born her doesn't get reifa. So we're saying, but that's not the din by a man who's born bita. He's the one who he gets reifa just like her. So the Gemara says, no, there's a pasuk that says that it only applies by Bas Kayin that there's a distinction, but the distinction would not carry over, so you could learn it out from there. So Rava says, Bishlam Hasa Mafik the Medina de Bas Kayin would keep to Adin de Bas Yisrael. He says, over there, she doesn't no longer has a din of a Bas Kayin. And you're saying, if it's not Shaykh to give, so the man is not able to get the same streif as the Bas Kayin, because the Torah says only she gets streifa. So therefore the man gets chanek because that's what's left over to him. What isra are you going to give to this father who is born his daughter? You're saying he's not getting the same isra as her. So then you're saying he's going to be getting with the regular din. So she's a pnuya. So he should get the isra of Baal Pnuya, which is not Misa at all. So he's saying, therefore, you can't say, he's saying a different teretz of why you can't say that the father would not get the same, it's the same Misa of Sreifa as the daughter, even though that's the case by Bas Kayin, which is being learned out from, which we're learning it out from, but by Bas Kayin you have another option. You could say the man who's born a Bas Kayin, he was born a Eshes Ish, so he gets dropped down to Chanek. That's not so terrible. But over here, if you say that you're not going to apply the same Isser of Sreifa to the father, he's going to go off the hook altogether. He's going to get the din of a Pnuya. That is not possible. So therefore, he would have to get the same din of Sreifa.
There's no comp for him. There's no
right. There's no. It's not that there's no comp, but there's nothing. There's no reasonable. There's no other Isser Misa that would apply. So therefore, you're left that you have to apply an Isser of Skila, of Sreifa. I'm sorry. Talk tomorrow. Okay, so that's the end. So we came up with these three different pshatim of where you learn out bitay from, and we addressed the questions on the last pshat. Azhar lebitay manusasa minayin, but this is all to tell you the einish that she gets sreifa, that he gets sreifa. He's bal bitay. She'll get it as well. But where do you know? Where do you see the azhara? It's never enough to just tell you that this is the einish. You have to say where the Torah says you're not allowed to do it. Bishlam abayver rabba mehecha nafkalhu. They learned it out. They had learned it out from the Gzeir Shava. Where was it again? So Abaye says Kal V'chaimer. He learns out from Kal V'chaimer, so it's a Gilei Milsa. So you'll learn it out just like you learn out the Einish from Bas Bitoy Bas Benoi, which we said before on the previous plot. We're able to learn out the Azharas as well with the Kal V'chaimer. And according to Rava, it's directly the Kal V'chaimer. So you're going to learn out the Einish from the Kal V'chaimer, not from the Kal V'chaimer. I keep saying Kal V'chaimer, I meant the Gzeir Shava. Elotani Avud Rav Avin, that you learn it out from the case of Bas Kayin. All we're learning out from Bas Kayin is the Einish. Mai, Amar Eloi, Amakra, Al Techal as Bincha, as Bitcha Laznaisa. The Torah says you shouldn't be Mechal. This is a pasuk that's really more directly talking about. It says Al Techal says Bitcha. One person should not profane his daughter Laznaisa to give her out to znus. L'tizna arts. You shouldn't cause the world, the land to be full of znus. So that would be as bit. So even though the Pashta Pshat is talking about someone making his daughter into a zaina, we would darshan it to mean if a man is born his own daughter, that's also another way of making her into a zaina. The Torah is saying you're not allowed to do that. So that's the azar. Maskar of Yaakov, Achva de Rav Acha by Yaakov. Is it really available to tell you an azhara for a man who's Baal Bitoy? Maybe this the Brisa says maybe it's coming to tell you that a man, a Kayin, who marries off his daughter to a Levi Yisrael, he's making her a lower level of kedusha. That's what the Torah is referring to. Talmud Laimel has noisa. It's not talking about just marrying her to a lower level of kedusha, but it's talking about to be mezat lahaznoisa with znus. But meiser spita shaloi l'shem ishus, and it's talking about the man who gives over his daughter to become a zaina. He's mafka her listeners. He sells her essentially. So that's what the pasuk is telling you. It's telling you like it's pashta pshat that it's also for a man to essentially prostitute his daughter. So how could you say it's all just telling you an azhara for a man who's bought his daughter? So my al techal an actual lashon shma mina tarti. You're able to learn out both things. What are they going to do with this pasuk? They didn't need it for the azhara, and we say techal tells you an extra limit. So what are they doing with that extra limit? I'm Rabbi Mani. This is someone who marries his daughter to an older man. When someone marries his daughter to an older man, she's not going to be satisfied with him, and she's going to end up being mizana. That's what we learn out, that a man should not marry his daughter to someone who's not going to be satisfactory to her. That's essentially, it's could cause she's going to end up being mechal herself. This is someone who marries a daughter to an older person, like we just said. Rabbi Kiva mezeha masha bitoy begeres. This is the other way around. It's talking about his daughter is a begeres, and he marries her off to masha bitoy begeres. What is that again? Yeah, so this is again, it's talking about someone who waits, he marries off his daughter because I think that's what it means. He waits to marry off his daughter after she's already ready to be married because he wants to have her assistance. He likes to have her helping around the house. So for his own benefit, he keeps her from getting married.
So Begaris is 12 and a half.
Yeah, I'm saying, but she already reached the age where she's ready to be married, and he says, I want to wait another 10 years because it's not convenient for me. I like having you around to clean the house.
Was Rashi said the second one down line?
She's not gonna want to be trapped. She's gonna be mizana because she's not gonna get married. He's not gonna allow her to get married. She's gonna go and be mizana. There's no one who becomes an ani by the Yidden except for someone who's a Rasha Aram, a deceptive Rasha. He does things for his own benefit, and someone again who doesn't allow his daughter to get married. So why are you saying it as two separate categories? A man who is deceptive and he doesn't allow his daughter to get married for his own benefit. He's a Rasha Aram. Why he is a Rasha Aram.
Right, makes it sound like it's two separate
things. That's what it means to say he is the Rasha Aram. Be very careful for someone who gives an eitzah that is helpful to himself. He gives an eitzah, but it's really, he says it's better for you to wait. You wait 5 years after you come back from seminary. You get a much better shidduch when you're 25. But he really just doesn't want to pay for the $100,000 wedding. So that's a yeyetzcha lefi darka. He's coming up with eitzahs that help himself. Amar v'yud hamesias bita luzaken. Someone who marries off his daughter to a zaken, like we said before, he's not going to be able to satisfy. She's going to be mizana. V'mesia isha libnai katan, or someone who marries a woman to his young son. So again, you're going to have the same problem. He's not going to be able to satisfy her, and she's going to be mizana, and he just wants to get his son out of the house. Machzer aveda l'goy, someone who returns an aveda to a guy. There's no chiyuv to be machzer an aveda to the guy. All of hakasav vaymer, and that the pasuk says lamat svois harava es atzmeya, that in order that the rava, the one who's full, will be connected to hatzmeya, to the one who is thirsty. So these cases of marrying off a daughter to someone who's not going to be able to satisfy her is similar to this concept of connecting someone who is thirsty, the woman who is capable of having bia, to someone who's not. It's lo yav Hashem slayach. The Rebbeinu Shalom is not going to forgive him. Rashi has a complicated explanation of Machzor Aveda L'Goy. Zok Rashi, Hishva v'chiber goyim liyisrael. He's comparing, he's equating and connecting goyim to Yidden. Umar ba'atzmai shehashavas aveda eina chashuv aloi mitzvahs boirei. He's denigrating the mitzvah of hashavas aveda. She'af l'goyim hu oisikein. Shaloi nistav alein, that he's not commanded on it. It's not clear to me exactly how that fits into the concept that we're talking about, but he's saying it's you're connecting the goyim who are raw, who are thirsty, well, they're not part of our chavra, and you're connecting them by giving meshav and aved to them. You're making them all the same as the yidden who want to do the mitzvahs. Meisvei.
It's a mitzvah if you can make a kiddush Hashem.
Right, but we're talking about without a kiddush Hashem, but they wouldn't know. You get an Amazon package to your house, and it's they'll never know that it came to you.
It was not the case in yeshiva when they gave too much change at the grocery store. Right. It was the class that they should give it back.
Right. So this kind
right, I forgot what you're referring to. So
this Gemara.
Fourth grade, right? This Gemara.
Yeah.
So you're saying that's Kiddush Hashem.
So the question is, you're talking about, you have the opportunity to make a positive Kiddush Hashem, right? You could, if you turn it, you'll make a Kiddush Hashem. So maybe that's Kedai. But if
anonymously you can't give it back.
Right. I guess so. I don't know. I would certainly give it back. I wouldn't consider that I'm being mashva goyim to Yidden.
The grandfather's can be back by a guy, because the guy doesn't have my nestle. Without a nestle, I have to think about all that minus.
Right. So they don't even know that it's lost. Meisvei. Someone who loves his wife like himself. He gives the covet even more than himself. He brings up his children the right way. And he marries them off when they're close to the age, when they're cotton. You'll know that there's peace in your tent, and your place where you live is taken care of, and you're not going to come to a chait. So the Gemara says, this is talking about a cotton. We said before, you shouldn't marry off a cotton to a grown woman. So that's talking about a boy who's almost a gadol. That's close enough, but he'll be a gadol soon. It's not a problem. One who gets along with his neighbors and he keeps his kroivim close to him. He marries his sister's daughter, which is considered to be a mitzvah. He's again helping out his kroivim. He lends money to an ani when he needs. When he'll call, the Baruch Hashem will answer. Since he answered, all these people answer the call, they're helping those near them. He helps those in need. The Baruch Hashem will help him also when he's in need. Tanur Rabban. This is the Machlokes Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Kiva that was referenced earlier. The pasuk says, "Lagabi, the mother of his wife." The pasuk says, "Where's the pasuk?" Ervas isha ubita loy segala. I'm sorry, no, that's not it. V'isha sheyikach es isha ves ima zima hi be'esh yisroifu. The man who takes him and his wife, as we're going to see, that refers to at least his chamaisai, and maybe the mother of his chamaisai as well. That's going to be the machlokes here. Zimahi, it's also be'esh yisroifu. They get an einish of sreifa. Oisai v'eshen. Him, the man who was born on this mother-in-law, v'eshen, and them or they or him, her as well. So we darshan like this. Bishmol says Esen, that in addition to he getting the einish of Sreifa, it means one other person, meaning the mother-in-law also gets Sreifa if he's born. It's referring to two, not just the mother-in-law, but the mother of the mother-in-law as well. My benayu, what's the difference between them? Amar Abaya, the question is only where you learn it out from. That means according to Rabbi Kiva, you learn out the pasuk is directly saying that the mother-in-law's mother gets sreifa, and we don't need the gzeir shava to tell you. Rabbi Shmuel Sava oisav esen oisav es achas mehen shechem b'lashon yavni karn la'achas heina. So therefore, it only means the mother-in-law. Im chamaisa midrasha hashen. Im chamaisa we're going to learn out from the gzeir shava. Rabbi Kiva Sava oisav esen oisav es shteim. Esen is two, so it means the aim chamaisa as well. The aim chamaisa hachaksiv. It's written in the pasuk. Rava Amar. Rava says no. That's not what the machlokes between Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Kiva is. He says there's a nafkamina la'alacha. Chamaisa la'acha misa kebena. There's going to be a nafkamina for the mother-in-law la'acha misa after the daughter, his wife dies. So then there's going to be a machlokes between Rabbi Shmuel and Rabbi Kiva whether the mother-in-law, what the isser is to the mother-in-law. Rabbi Shmuel says that the pasuk says esen, so it means they. So it means that while they're both there, then there's going to be an isser. So it means even after she dies, it's still going to be. So we keep a sava isura ba'alma. It's the after misa is excluded, and therefore it's only going to remain an isser for being bar on the mother-in-law after the death of his wife. Okay, we'll stop over here. Tomorrow.